Hello, this is Pastor Roland. Today I want to continue with our reading from Mark. We finished chapter 10. Let's proceed with chapter 11. Mark chapter 11. And when they came to Jerusalem, near Bethpage and Bethany at the Mount of Olives, he sent forth two of his disciples, and said to them, Go your way into the village over there, and as soon as you enter it, you will find a colt tied where no man, upon which no man has ever sat. Loosen him and bring him. And if any man say to you, Why do you do this? Say, Because the Lord needs him. And straightway he will release the colt to you. And they went their way and found the colt tied by the door, outside a place where two ways met. And they loosened him. And certain of them that stood there said, Why are you loosing the colt? And they said to them, Because Jesus has commanded it. And so they let them go. And they brought the colt to Jesus, and cast their garments on him, and he sat upon him. And many spread their garments in the way, and others cut down branches off the trees, and strewed them in the way. And they that went before, and they that followed, cried, saying, Hosanna! Blessed is he that comes in the name of the Lord. Blessed be the kingdom of our father David, that cometh in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. That's very beautiful. Um, Jesus instructed them to go, and he knew there would be a colt there, and a colt which no one had ever sat upon before. Somehow that was important, that no one had sat upon that colt before. Um, and notice too, later when Jesus sat on the colt didn't make a fuss, um, sensing, I suppose, or with Jesus' power to calm the colt. But it was important somehow that it was a colt that no one had sat on before. And I think that is a significant little thing to notice there. Significant, it's a minor detail you never hear anyone talk about, but it's important. Why? Because God has his ways, and not just any colt will do. There's a reason why he wanted a colt that no one had sat on before. And so, for example, there are areas in life where we're to follow God's advice, or what God says. See, God's commands are also good advice. They're actually commands, but they're also good advice because he gives us freedom. He gives us freedom. But if he recommends something, then we should pay attention to what he has recommended. For example, let's take marriage, for example. I'm making a point. I'm saying that it was important that it be a colt that had not been sat on before. Okay? So it's important, okay, that when a man and a woman come together, that it be within the bounds of holy matrimony. See, that's the way God wants it. And God also wants it that we should remain pure until we get married. Okay? Now, there are reasons, but that's the way he wants it. So it would be good enough just to do what God says for the mere reason that he said it, for the reason that he said it. That's enough. We don't need to know all the ins and outs and whys and wherefores of things. It's not for us to know. But God does help us to understand why. So I'll explain to you now why we're supposed to get married and not just live together. The reason is that holy matrimony is ordained by God as a framework within which to work out the ancient man-woman thing. See, in the Garden of Eden, Adam failed. Okay? Now, you women know about men's failings. You know how men fail. Men fail all the time. A woman's father failed. A woman's father failed her. He wasn't there for her. He wasn't available for her. He wasn't there to guide her and protect her and so on most of the time. Or he was there, but he was weak. Okay? Or he was there and he was decent, but something was missing. You see what I mean? But in some way he failed her. Then she goes out in the world looking for love, and then men fail her again. They use her. Instead of loving her, they use her. And then she gets married, and maybe he's a decent guy, but he fails her. See? Well, she has to learn to not resent him. That's what she has to learn to do, and not to hate men. Doesn't do any good. Hate doesn't help anything. But what it does is it blocks you from God's love. But getting back to the Garden of Eden, I'm making a point, and that is Adam failed. He fell to temptation. The woman was involved. Okay? So the temptation came through her. It wasn't her fault, but it came through her. So a woman must learn how to not resent men who fail, because all men have failed, myself included. Okay, but that's not an excuse. We men must learn how to fail less and less and less, and then eventually fail no more. Okay, but that's for us to learn within the bounds of holy matrimony. And men have to learn how to love woman instead of using her. How to love the woman instead of using her to support his ego, to support his pride. See? That's what they need to learn. And that's what marriage is for. Marriage is not a picnic. It's not a pleasure party. It's a framework it's like school. It's a framework within which to learn how to work out this ancient thing between men and women. A woman can learn how not to resent her husband. Okay? How not to judge him. A man must learn to be more fatherly, to not go for her temptation. See, when they were younger, he went for her seductive temptation, but then later on he resents her, which is another, see. Then when she nags him, that's a temptation that he goes for by resenting it, see. So either way he's using her. If he uses her sexually, he's falling to the temptation, okay? And if he uses her for resentment because he hates her, or because she's getting old and she's not pretty anymore, he hates her, so that's also using her. A man has to learn to love the woman. And within the bounds of holy matrimony, there can be procreation. So a family, you build a family, you have children, okay? It's all blessed by God within that framework, okay? So now you see why it's so important. See, without marriage, there's no honor. See, if a man just lives with a woman, where's the honor? If he were honorable, he would absolutely want to marry her. See? If he doesn't, for whatever reason, whatever excuse, whatever selfishness, there's no honor. There's no virtue. Okay, so now you see. So there are certain ways that God would like things to be done, and we must be attentive to such things. Okay? Well, I hope you enjoyed today's little reading and a little discussion about men and women. If you want to learn more about this topic of men and women, I have a lot of blog talk radio programs on the subject, but I especially recommend my book, The Myths and Mysteries of Marriage. Very good. Also, Putting the Forever Back in Love. It's another book I wrote, which is excellent. Okay, and then I have a book called Forbidden Food. Okay, Paradise Lost and The Promise of Redemption. Forbidden Food. Excellent. Talks about food. The food was involved in the Garden of Eden fall also. So we have to learn how to deal with each other. Men have to learn to deal with women. Women have to learn how to deal properly with men without hating them, without resenting them, without judging them. Men have to learn to love women. We all have to learn how to eat properly. You know, instead of living to eat, we have to, eat to live. Okay? We have to learn how to eat properly. And we have to learn how to deal with the spoken word. See, most of us are very sensitive to criticism. We bristle at criticism, become resentful, and become puffed up by praise. So it is through words, the medium of words, that temptation comes. You see? Just like in the Garden of Eden, it was the word, spoken word. Okay? So all these things have to be learned, and they can be. May I recommend my books and also the meditation, so you can become objective and see things more clearly in the light of truth. Then all of these things will start to become clear to you. It'll be quite a learning experience. Quite a learning experience. You'll be a better man for it, a better woman for it. Okay? My name is Pastor Roland.